All right, let's dive into something pretty deep today. We're going to decode a really complex modern myth, the saga of the integrated jester. Now, stick with me here, because it's a wild story about what it means to embrace your inner monster to become, well, to become truly, fully human. It pulls from psychology, philosophy, prophecy, you name it. Let's get into it. Wow. Yeah, this quote right here is basically the whole thesis. So get this. This journey isn't about finding some kind of Zen-like peace. Not at all. It's about a constant, dynamic, active engagement with your entire self, especially the parts we're all told to bury deep down. It's a struggle, it's a dance, and in the end, it's about having a defiant, powerful laugh in the face of a meaningless universe. And really, that quote, that whole idea, boils down to this one question. This is the engine driving the entire saga. So as we follow the Jester's journey, just keep this in the back of your mind. His huge, mythic struggle is really just a blown-up version of a challenge every single one of us faces. How do you forge your own identity when the world is constantly pushing you to just fall in line? So who's our guide on this crazy trip? Let's meet the protagonist, the original Jester. And right away, let's be clear, he is not a clown. Not in any simple sense. He's framed as a prophet, a figure who represents the radical and, yeah, often dangerous potential of creating yourself from the ground up. So here is his basic resume. First off, he's a transhuman prophet, meaning he's all about pushing beyond what we think of as normal human limits. His whole goal is something called rewilding, which is this idea of breaking the chains of society to reconnect with our primal, more authentic selves. And how does he do it? By going down into the marketplace and causing chaos. Most importantly, think of him as the living bridge, the link between what we are now and what we have the potential to become. Now, every prophet needs a world that needs changing, right? And for the Jester, that world is the marketplace. It's not a literal place, it's a symbol for a whole society that has decided to trade greatness for comfort and individuality for just fitting in. And the people who live in this marketplace, they're called the last men. Now, if you're a philosophy nerd, you'll recognize that term straight from Nietzsche. These are the people who have just given up on striving for anything more. They value safety and being liked way more than anything else. They are the direct target of the Jester's message, because they're the embodiment of the stagnation he's trying to shatter. The whole story unfolds across this really clear 5-stage arc. We've got his awakening, when he comes down from the mountain, then the alchemical trials he has to go through, that's his internal journey. After that comes proliferation, where he spreads his ideas like seeds. Then a descent into the uncanny, a journey into the psychological wilderness. And finally, the current conflict, which is pretty much where the story is right now. So let's walk through it. Okay, so before the Jester can even think about changing the world, he has to completely remake himself. And we're not talking about learning a new skill or picking up a new hobby. This is a deep, psychological, soul-level transformation. It's all about confronting the darkness you've got inside. And the engine for this whole process is actually rooted in a real psychological concept, Carl Jung's idea of the shadow. Jung basically argued that to be a complete, whole person, you can't just focus on your good side. You absolutely have to confront, understand, and then integrate all the parts of yourself you've pushed away. Your anger, your fear, your primal instincts. That is the secret to the Jester's power. The saga shows us this process through a series of what it calls alchemical trials. So during a violet eclipse, he finally accepts his dark side. In the trial of the hourglass, he learns to affirm his entire past, no regrets. And this all leads to the final metamorphosis, where he literally summons the wild man, this wolf-like figure that is his primal self. He doesn't kill it. He makes a pact with it. It becomes part of his strength. So, if you take away one thing, let it be this. The entire saga is built on 2 huge pillars. From the philosopher Nietzsche, we get the goal: become the overman, the person who creates their own values. And from the psychologist Jung, we get the method: integrate your shadow. The reason this blend is so powerful is that it gives you not just a destination, but a psychological roadmap for how to actually get there. Now, you can imagine, when you go through this kind of radical internal change, the outside world is probably not going to be thrilled about it. The Jester's path isn't just some private spiritual journey. It turns into an all-out war against the forces that want to keep things exactly as they are. And this lays out the conflict perfectly. On one side, you have the Jester's path. It's all about self-creation, rewilding, and this covenant of totality. That's the pact to accept every single part of yourself. His weapon? That life-affirming, absurd laughter. And on the other side, the forces of stasis. You've got slave morality that praises being meek, the absolute nihilism of the void, and the crushing weight of guilt, which is personified as the spirit of gravity.
So let's meet the villains. First up, the Pale Cynic. This guy is nihilism in the flesh. While the jester is trying to create meaning, the cynic is trying to bleach it all away with his white lantern. He spreads this silver mist of meaninglessness, whispering that nothing matters, so why bother trying? He is the voice of absolute despair.
And the second big antagonist is the spirit of gravity. This one's a little more subtle, but maybe even more dangerous. It represents all the shoulds and oughts that society dumps on us, that collective guilt that weighs us down. It uses a heavy loom to try and make every soul the same, to make sure no one ever gets brave enough to break the mold. Okay, so you're up against these massive forces. How do you make sure your ideas survive? The jester knows he can't win this fight alone, so he does something the saga calls the proliferation. He leaves behind an obsidian fruit, a seed of his wisdom, right in the middle of the marketplace he wanted to tear down. And who finds this fruit? A restless youth, of course, someone who already feels like they don't belong with the last men. By eating the fruit, he becomes the new jester. But he's not a copy, he's the emergent will. He's the next generation, taking the idea and making it his own. It's a key theme here. The teacher has to be surpassed for the student to truly become powerful. So, with the new jester on the scene, we get to see the ultimate synthesis of this whole philosophy. And the key thing to get here is that this is not about reaching some perfect static state of enlightenment. It's about forging the tools you need to keep fighting, to live a full life in a world that's defined by constant struggle. The first big thing the new jester does is forge the wolf covenant. He seeks out that primal wolf figure, the wild man, and makes a pact. What this means is he's connecting his highest, most starry ambitions with his most visceral, primal, even predatory instincts. It is the ultimate integration. It's the idea that you can't really reach for the stars unless your feet are planted firmly in the wild, messy earth of who you really are. And when you achieve that level of total integration, you unlock the ultimate weapon against the cynic's nihilism and the spirit of gravity's weight. And that weapon is absurd laughter. And again, this isn't just about telling a joke. It's the profound, powerful ability to see everything in life, the horror, the beauty, the struggle, the void, and affirm all of it with a defiant, joyous laugh. It is the sound of absolute freedom. This whole idea is captured perfectly by another one of those core Nietzschean concepts, amor fati, which translates to love of one's fate. It's the philosophy that you don't just put up with your past, you embrace it. You look at every win, every failure, every moment of pain, and you say, yes, all of it. It was all necessary to make me who I am right now. This is exactly what lets the jester pass that trial of the hourglass. So, where does that leave us? Well, this saga doesn't give us a neat little happily ever after. It's currently stuck in what it calls a grand reckoning. The characters are all locked in this cosmic fight. The story suggests that this struggle is eternal, that it happens over and over again in a cycle. And the crucial takeaway is that sovereignty, real ownership of yourself, isn't something you win once and you're done. It has to be fought for and reaffirmed in every single moment of your life. And that brings us right back to that question from the beginning. The Jester Saga is a huge, epic, cosmic metaphor for a deeply internal process. His fight against nihilism and conformity is just a dramatization of the choices we all have to make every day. So the story leaves us with this final thought. If the struggle for the self is eternal, how are you fighting for and affirming your own?